So for these last module summaries, we're going to go over chapter 13 and 14. And chapter 13 is the development of motivation and self-regulation. And two things that are important are extrinsic motivation and intrinsic motivation. And some factors that affect this motivation are reinforcers, which are consequence of a response that leads to an increase in the frequency of that response. Primary reinforcer, which is a stimulus or event that satisfies a built-in biological need. Secondary reinforcer, which is a stimulus or event that becomes reinforcing over time through its association with one or more other reinforcers. Delay gratification is a foregoing small immediate rewards for larger ones at a future time, and punishment is the consequence of a response that leads to a decrease in the frequency of that response. Factors that affect intrinsic motivation, intrinsic motivation being the result from personal characteristic or from factors inherited in the task of being performed, are self-efficiency, which is belief that one is capable of executing certain behaviors or reaching certain goals. A sense of self-determination is a belief that one has some choice and control regarding the future course of one's life. Situational interest is interest evoked temporarily by something in the environment. Personal interest is long-term, relatively stable interest in a particular topic of activity. Value is the belief that a particular activity has direct or indirect benefits. And internalized motivation is adoption of behaviors that others value whether or not one's immediate environment reinforces those behaviors. Development of goals. Achievement goals have mastery goal, which is a desire to acquire additional knowledge or master new skills. Performance goals, desire to demonstrate high ability and make a good impression. Performance approach goals, desire to look good and receive favorable judgments from others. Performance avoidance goals, desire not to look bad or receive unfavorable judgment from others. Social goals, goal related to establishing or maintaining relationships with other people. Development of attributions. Attribution is the belief about the cause of one's own or another person's success or failure. Incremental view of their ability is the belief that ability can and does improve with effort and practice. Entity view of their ability is the belief that ability is a thing that is relatively permanent and unchangeable. Mastery orientation is the general belief that one is capable of accomplishing challenging tasks accompanied by an intent to master such tasks. Learned helplessness is the general belief that one is capable of accomplishing tasks and has little or no control of the environment. Things that I find really important in this chapter is how to motivate children and adolescents with these types of things like intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is focusing on prompting intrinsic motivation, enhancing children's self-efficiency for mastering important knowledge and skills, maintaining children's self-determination when describing rules and giving instructions, encouraging children to shoot for a specific goal, encouraging mastery goals as well as performance goals, downplay the seriousness of failures, help youngsters meet their social goals, give encouraging messages about the causes of successes and failures, teach children to give themselves encouraging attribution messages as well, be aware of students who are behind classmates in academic skills, and how to promote self-regulation, create an orderly and somewhat predictable environment, provide children with age-appropriate opportunities to make their own choices, provide children with age-appropriate opportunities to make their own choices is really important, and provide guidance but not only when children need it. Teach specific regulation skills, self-monitoring, process of observing and recording one's own behavior. Self-instructions are specific direction that gives oneself while performing a complex behavior, form of self-talk. And self-evaluation is judging one's own performance in accordance with predetermined criteria. Self-regulation deals with impulse control, delaying gratification, self-socialization, emotional regulation, goal setting, self-motivation, and self-regulating learning. And the conscience is an internalized sense of right and wrong for guiding and evaluating one's behavior. Moral reasoning is involving acquiring standards about right and wrong and acting in accordance with these standards. Piaget's theory of moral development is proposed that over time children construct increasingly mature understandings of good and bad behavior, which I agree with and something that is I'll take into consideration with my teaching because children have an idea in their head what is good and what is bad and the expectations. And so when they're developing the moral development, they'll realize what they should and shouldn't do. Kohlberg's theory of moral development has three levels: pre-conventional morality, um, lack of internalized standards about right and wrong, making decisions based on what is best for oneself without regard for other needs; conventional morality, acceptance of society's conventions regarding right and wrong, behaving to please others or to live up to society's expectations for appreciate behavior; post conventional is behaving in accordance with self development, abstract principles regarding right and wrong. How to promote moral development, clarify which behaviors are acceptable and which are not, and helping the children understand the reasons for the regulations uh, and why you're prohibiting them. Engage children in discussions about moral issues. Challenge children's moral reasoning with slightly more advanced reasoning. Encourage children to invite excluded classmates to participate in events. Get children and adolescents actively involved in community services and foster a climate of religious tolerance. Service learning is an activity that promotes learning and skill development through volunteer or community service. Pro-social behavior is action intended to benefit another person. Reactive aggression is aggressive response to frustration or provocation. Proactive aggression is deliberate aggression against another as a means of obtaining a desired goal. How to create a safe environment is really important. Level 1, create a nonviolent school environment. Level 2, intervening early students at risk. Level 3, providing intensive intervention for students in trouble. And that's my module summary. Um, I think it's extremely important to know these things and to really be aware of moral development in children and just their social side, because that is such a huge part in learning, and I really think it contributes to a lot of things and is a stepping stool for the next level in academics, in pretty much anything that they do in the future, and it is a huge impact. So knowing that and just recognizing ways to help them in my teaching is going to be really important for me. So thank you.